Thank you everybody for coming on the last day of the show. I hope you've had a really great conference. I've been really excited to see everyone's smiling faces. I'm looking at your eyes right now, by the way. And I would like to know, though, who has seen my previous session, or Ramp to the Future of XR on Tuesday? Okay. How many people have not seen that? All right, so we're going to have to spend some of this time on a recap, thanks to all of the rest of you at the last half of that. And our session, though, is a deeper dive from that session, and we're going to focus more on the philosophical design of easing people into AR more than a strictly technical session. So this isn't going to be a deep code or API session. This is really how to think about designing your app for Qualcomm's tools with the Snapdragon Spaces XR developer platform. And to that point, we are going to have a little bit of, not so much Q&A, but a pop quiz at the end. So since you're here at the beginning, if you pay attention and get some things right, we have a little bit of swag. I might have some Southwest peanuts or Hyatt pens, or possibly some Snapdragon Spaces stuff in there. So again, if you're curious about how we get to the future, if you're an aspiring AR developer or you just need a place to sit, then we have something for you. This is designing your mobile app for Qualcomm's tools. I'm Steve Lukas. XR career was well explained in the beginning. One through line through all the last 7 years is a desire to get more people into XR. So this is beyond everyone at this conference, but everyone outside who doesn't even know this conference exists. How do we get all of them into immersive XR, specifically here consumer-based head-mounted AR? And that's my through line, that's my just cause, my infinite game. That's what I really, really care about, and it's part of Qualcomm's mission as well. So we're going to talk about how the Snapdragon Spaces XR developer platform plays a part in getting us there. Who is Qualcomm? For those of you who don't know, we create chips and other technologies that are inside the vast majority of the world's leading mobile computing devices. This includes phones, IoT, automotive, and my personal favorite, wearables. So wearable computing technology, specifically on our heads. Then the most popular VR headsets, AR headsets, and smart glasses are powered by our Snapdragon chipset family. So our agenda today, we are going to do a recap of Ramp to the Future of XR, get into some of the design thinking around building for our platform, and going through a really quick case study. Previously on Ramp to the Future of XR, we described the Snapdragon Spaces XR developer platform. It's consisting of a phone and glasses and built on the three major principles. Technology and innovation, a proven history of that with Qualcomm, along with some of the companies that are involved in developing our platform. An open cross-device AR ecosystem. An open platform is not open source, as I learned as well, so you can look that up on Wikipedia. It's very helpful. And then finally, it's a developer-first platform. So we design it with the principles of understanding what the developer community needs and thinking about how can we build technologies to meet them where they are. When it comes to the open platform, we adhere to and extend industry standards such as OpenXR for maximum compatibility across the manufacturers. You can see we have a number of partners, OEMs, operators, developers, and our goals with the platform are to help provide a bridge to familiarize developers and consumers with the behaviors of using AR in our daily lives. Where full immersive AR is what we call the deep end of the pool, then we want to build the kiddie steps to get into AR, and the ramp that gets them from the shallow end to the deep end so that people can enter at their own pace and gradually adapt to immersive AR. And of course, we do welcome Olympic divers who just want to go all in, but we want all teams and people to easily get into AR as naturally as possible. One more piece to this, which is the foundation for a good part of this talk, is a technology we unveiled at the last session, which is AR as a feature for your mobile app. So while we do allow you to use the phone as a modified companion for your glasses, then in our system, what's really exciting is being able to leverage AR glasses as an accessory or an expansion for your mobile app. So now instead of having to spatialize everything to move it into AR, you can keep some elements on your phone and interact with them the way that we all do today. I'll go into some of this philosophy a bit soon. So with AR as a feature, we want to let you to be able to leverage your entire phone in ways you want to see. And this takes advantage of the familiarity of touchscreen capabilities on your device, but also taking advantage of all the perception technologies that we're building in Snapdragon Spaces XR developer platform, so that even when you want to use pinch and zoom, you can then switch over and use hand tracking to reach into and grab the elements that you're seeing through the immersive world. And when it comes to that, I want to show you some lab experiments that I've put together. These are a bit scrappy because I was the cameraman, so blame any shakiness on me, not on anything else. But this is a replay of what we showed in the last session, which are just some experiments of showing what does it feel like to be able to use your phone to navigate menus and scan around, but also having immersive AR through glasses. And in this case, we are replicating what you see in the glasses on the phone as far as the digital elements, but really just pay attention to how quickly we can navigate through and click, 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 and move around on the mobile phone to be able to work through the UI. And if you've ever just worked in fully spatial UI with immersive headsets, then you're probably familiar with just how input confidence is much stronger on the mobile phone than anything we've yet seen in immersive UX. And so these mobile apps with our architecture were ported over, some of them in only 4 hours. And that's because we're using the foundation of an existing mobile app and just adding another camera, moving some of the elements and areas to the camera. I mean, this one actually even just took like 2 minutes. All we did was take an existing Unity sample, just added the SDK, threw in another camera to represent a fixed camera in the world, and you can see it looking up in the immersive display. Now you're seeing it from a God view, while the actual gameplay and on the mobile screen are exactly the same. So before we get into design thinking, it's been a couple days, I had a lot of conversations at this show, and I wanted to step back and have just a more real conversation about where we are and what to expect. Because once I gave that talk and spoke to our partner developers and other people at the show, I started to understand more about where this resonated with people and how they felt about it. And when I looked at that, I said, we have to evolve. Just like XR, we had all these assumptions in 2016. And strategically, we have to look at it and say, what do we know now that influence how we go with a direction? Or what are the assumptions we made that were wrong? And in here, I realize this talk is about jumping right into, here's how to design for our mobile app. But some of the fundamentals around this level of thinking are having an understanding of an analysis of where we are with mobile today and where we are with headset. And I do recommend strategic thinking as much as possible and analyzing all the data. And for example, I see a countdown timer right in front of me, and it looks pretty scary. But taking a strategic look at it, this is the last session of the day. We're a sponsor. When that hits 0, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I think we'll be okay. And if this talk resonates and there's a lot of good information here, then I think we'll be all right. So part of that is discussing with mobile and headset. Right now, this show is revolves a lot around advancing the future technologies. And as we've built VR in the beginning and AR, then what we've seen is that we've explored the technology at a more early stages, like 3DOF, 6DOF, and 3DOF wasn't good enough for our proprioception, so then we need to adapt to 6DOF, and we keep iterating on these technologies to make them better, and we're hoping that by doing that, we'll get more people who are strictly in the mobile world to adapt and say, I want to get into XR now. But as we keep iterating and growing and growing and growing, we're at the point where immersive AR is very, very good. It's very good. And so we think, you know what? We're not getting enough people in. They're still in mobile land. So we should improve the field of view. We should have better optics. We should add computer vision, brain-computer interface. But as we do that, what we're really doing is catering to the people that are already adapted to immersive AR. We turn around and we find out that everyone who is in mobile they're not waiting for brain-computer interface to jump in. So we are moving the needle forward, which is all important, but it's almost like we're building the rocket ship to go to Mars. And so the people who are invested are ready to go. And we have people that believe that we just need to make these things more exciting, bigger, better. But we turn around and they're still convincing that needs to be done on the low end. I want to set this all up because I really want us to be thinking about what are the smallest things we can do to bring people into immersive AR. It's not about making the biggest splash, the biggest thing to move that needle, because when you think about things like a theme park, a roller coaster, like what's the most exciting ride you've been on at Disneyland? And for me, it was Rise of the Resistance, the Star Wars experience. It's blew me away. Fantastic experience. If someone said, Steve, for $10, I can build that in your backyard, and you could have it at home, I wouldn't want it. Because I'm like, this is great, I'm enjoying it, but I want something that will give me repeated value. And so I can pay a bench to go over there for a bit. So we want to bring XR into our daily lives. And part of that, you think about your phone. When's the last time your phone technology blew you away? But I use it all the time, every day, every hour, and every 5 minutes. I want to keep using this because there's so much utility there. So is it exciting what's on my phone? Not necessarily, but it's so useful. And so as I talk about how to design, I'll be bringing up ideas and concepts that to us who've been in the space and are looking for more particle effects or the biggest, brightest things may feel boring, but useful and exciting for the masses to bring them in. And the more people we bring in on the low end, the more people who are ready to embrace the high end and understand. So I really just wanted to say that's where this mindset is and hope that resonates. Does that make sense to anybody? Yeah, okay, great, thanks. All right, so design thinking. When you're looking at porting your apps to Snapdragon Spaces, then if you're using existing apps, there's 3 types of apps we can pull those from. There's head-mounted, there's mobile AR, and there's mobile. And head-mounted is what you're used to already with VR and immersive AR. Mobile AR is like the AR Kit, AR Core, or old Vuforia type. And then mobile are just your straight-up mobile apps that have no AR XR component. So adapting your head-mounted display apps, then there's 2 components. There's your headset and there's your input. Headset is easy. These days, we're mostly all in 6-DoF land. 6 degrees of freedom, position, and rotation. 3 degrees, XYZ position, coordinates, XYZ rotational axes. And porting that over is pretty straightforward. From a head-mounted display to a head-mounted display, you swap out the XR rig components, easy. But then when it comes to the input, then you're losing out on all these controllers right now because what you have is a phone. So what you have to do is just consider how do you adapt all those controls and reduce them into the phone set. Now, there's 2 ways you can do it. One of them is you can use buttons on your phone to replace the buttons that are on the controllers. You can also put buttons in the world, use a raycast to point. That's very much similar to the way the Magic Leap Companion, Nreal, Nebula 2, and Lenovo Think Reality work. So it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to zip through these parts because I want to get to the AR as a feature side. But I still want to cover this for those who are interested. With mobile AR, then you already have the concept of 6-DoF positioning, and you have a UI on the screen. So this is great. We have something similar that we can do with Snapdragon Spaces XR developer platform. The difference is, since you're moving the perception and the 6-DoF tracking from the phone into the headset, then now you don't have to worry about holding the phone in a specific orientation, or as Brian likes to say, having to be the director of the scene. You can hold your phone however you like, and your headset isn't one looking around. Also, with mobile AR, you have to use the camera on the back of the device. So if you've ever been in this situation, you've given someone a demo of mobile AR, and then they say, hey, that's great, and they put it down on the table, then it loses all sense of tracking. You have to set the whole thing up all over again. Not an issue here. Also, parallax view. Here you can see in mobile AR, but then you still only having a single screen view. So you put on the glasses, you get left eye to right eye, you get a nice parallax view, and you can get more sense of depth through it. So just several benefits for moving into mobile AR. And then pure mobile. Here, then, this is just a sample of a multiplayer game. Again, the heart of the talk. It's really taking a straight-up mobile app, enhancing it with a second screen, which is a volumetric 3D display. Going back to it, I want to look back in history about, 2004? When the Game Boy Advance developers, these are Nintendo systems from back in the day, were inspired to adapt their applications to dual screen. Now again, Snapdragon Spaces SDK allows us to adapt it to a dual display of a phone and an immersive headset. So how do we think about that? How do we get there? And I want to show this because game developers had to go through the same exercise. They said, if I have a single screen, how do I move it to a dual screen? Because it was a requirement if you're going to release an app on the Nintendo 2DS, or 2DS, then you would have to use two screens. And some of the simplest way of doing that is just take a map that was hidden behind a menu on your lower screen, on your main screen. So if you hit menu, you see the map, you have to hit menu, you have to toggle back out of it, but that map's useful. It's an existing asset. A developer can just use that map as the other screen, and now it feels like a perfectly solid, completely fresh, full-featured production app. And that's what they did. And that's just at the minimum. You could also improve that by using all kinds of innovative technology to have characters jumping back and forth in the screens, having different readouts, all kinds of things. But for the most part, what I want to highlight is that in the very beginning, the bare minimum was all it took to make these things great. So we call that a minimalist approach. From 2016, then I remember hearing that VR needs to be full 6DoF head and full 6DoF controllers. And I don't disagree with that. But again, how do we bring more people in at scale? The minimalist approach can be a tried and true mobile app and add just a touch of AR. Yeah, recently an AR designer from Niantic had said, existing AR ecosystems only have such prolific adoption because they've created products on the foundation of utility and not on the foundation of AR itself. So again, I've mentioned this last time, but if we work on a foundation of an existing mobile app and then we add AR, you can have a much better full-featured experience. And then I said something similar, which I alluded to earlier, which is the killer app experience that gets mainstream people into XR will likely seem totally boring to the people who've been here and are pushing the boundaries of the medium. And it will catch people off guard. Finally, this was just last week that this was posted. I'm like, this is perfect. XR minimalism is where it's at, only showing what you need when you need. T-Rex is cool the first time you see it. After a few times, no one cares. We need to think about the whole more than the set pieces. And so some minimalist ideas for adapting your mobile app into entry-level XR, have a floating screen, so like the map, but have that floating in the world. Have just instructional aids to guide you while you're moving about, or like in a video game, a map screen. The next logical step, multi-screen. Just have a few slides or a few displays up. I'm thinking slides because I see this photo and I think it would have been great for me to sit in the lobby and just pull up my whole deck and just look left to right and be able to scroll through it and just see everything at a glance instead of scrolling vertically for it. And another intermediate example is just throw a volumetric asset into the world. So I think I may have mentioned like a Sketchfab example where there's all these 2D assets on the screen, but if all they did was just add a touch of AR by throwing the volumetric asset as a view in front of them, then it's so minimal. It can be done in a day. I built a demo of that in 4 hours, and you could already see the benefit of seeing 3D models at actual scale. I'm about to be eliminated, according to the clock. So more advanced concepts are accessories where, since these are Android-based phones, then you're able to connect any existing Bluetooth compatible interface into your device. So that's like a Bluetooth gamepad, keyboards, other game controllers, that's all possible. And they'll just work because it's based off Android. You can also, if you don't want to use a physical accessory, you could also adapt the touchscreen into whatever controls you want. And then you can also leverage 3DOF sensors in order to aim the controller. And so all I've mentioned there are things that are just utilizing the display in Android without even touching all the perception features available in our SDK, which then layer on and create a fully rich hybrid blend experience between phone and headset. And what I show here is a 2D mobile world and immersive AR. I mentioned this before. What we're doing is anchoring the novel with familiar so that developers can add AR at their own pace. And we're going to go through a quick case study on this one. Thank you for the clock. So we're going to take the concept of a mobile recipe app and adapt it into AR glasses. Again, entry level for consumers to naturally feel the ease of use of AR. And what we're going to start with is looking at the concept of, I have a team, I have a recipe app, and my team doesn't know anything about AR. All they know is mobile development. How do I get them to start thinking about it and providing value to the consumers? And I don't want them to spend 6 to 12 months sitting in a cave and then coming up with a brand new prototype. I want to see how quickly we can see results. And again, we're not going after the small target market of those who are looking for the most advanced, craziest things. We're looking for the larger potential target market, mobile developers and mobile consumers. And we start very simply, just mirror the screen. Just float it in the air. Mirror the recipe. Just have it up there, and even though it sounds very simple, then you get all kinds of questions you start to think about. Do I want this to be body locked, where they walk around and it stays with them? Do I want to place it in the world and have it stay there? How do I want to scroll with it? Do I use the head pose to look down and have it scroll automatically? Do I put some buttons that I stare at and then they click? Super simple. All I did was throw a screen up there, but then I'm starting to think about the spatialized concepts for the user. And it gets your team thinking in all these ways, and all you did, again, was just throw up one screen. But it starts getting you trained in thinking. From a consumer level, whatever you come up with, to them it's just like, oh, I don't have to think about where I have to exit or buttons or switch out. I just use my phone. So number two screens. For me, when I make a recipe, I'm always scrolling back and forth between the ingredients and the recipe steps and losing my place, getting stuck in their story of why this recipe means so meaningful to them. But here, I can put the recipe ingredients on one side and the steps on the other. And now, as I'm cooking, I can just reference and glance very quickly, super easy. And on top of that, spatial relationships. Where do I want these objects? Do I want to stick them on the table so as I go into the ingredients, they're right there when I come back? Or again, do I want to body lock it and keep it with me? What interface do I want to apply to expand and change the size of these screens? If I want to introduce local anchors into it, which keep content where they are, do I want to set this up so that every time I open the app, my recipes are exactly where I want them to be? And again, super simple, 2 screens, but you're getting people thinking from the development and consumer standpoint. And then, once we've got all that down, let's introduce some hand tracking. Let's let you check off your ingredients as you put them in. My hands always get stuck with like flour and whatever ingredients, and then I have to wipe them off and then go up to my iPad or tablet and then try to unlock it. But now I don't have to do any of that. I can just keep working and then use hand tracking to check items off. Additionally, timers. I love this because spatialization. What I can do here is if I'm making pizza and kneading the dough, I need it to rest for 45 minutes. I can then use hand tracking to create a timer, use anchors to place that timer right on top of that dough as it rests. Then, since it's integrated with my phone, what I can do there is have it trigger an alarm notification, and I can just even exit the app. I can even take my glasses off, go about my business, and then I'll get the alarm, hey, your dough is ready. And then I can put my glasses back on, and the anchor will be like, yeah, right here. I'm like, oh yeah, that's perfect. Because I might have other things going at the same time, and I want those timers I might want to put in the world right over the things that they're related to, which is something that we don't have today. Well, we're getting it with the Snapdragon Spaces XR developer platform. And from here, you can keep going. You can, if you want to take your recipe app and have recipe cards, and you want to see them like as if they're coming from a recipe box, you could spatialize that. You could have them all around you and look at what you want to make. In the future, as we have people take photogrammetry of their food, like today we have Instagram, we might have photogrammetry where they create the 3D models. Imagine that your recipe app, as you're going through the recipes, you can envision and see what people have made, say, hey, this recipe produced all of these results that all of these people made with it, and along with their reviews on it. And all that you could see and envision in front of you. And what we would do here is allow consumers to really understand and appreciate the value of AR, even if it's just a touch and just a little bit. And that's really where we're going with this. So what's even nicer about all of this is that as we go through this process, you're introducing AR to your existing audience, because what you can do is release all of these things as in-app purchase or just an upgrade, and just something as part of your regular mobile app. You don't say, go to this other store or download this other app. It's all just part of your existing app. And as you're doing that, you're acclimating your development team into AR. But most importantly, as they start thinking of spatialization and creating 3D assets, creating 3D design best practices, what they're doing is really populating their knowledge base and their code repository and their design docs, so they're understanding how to get into immersive AR. So they're probably 75% of the way there by the time they're done, where they're still doing a hybrid app using the phone and the headset. Then one day, immersive AR, they're ready for it. And they're like, you know what, when we want to build an app for one of these high-end AR headsets that have no phone attached, we only have 25% of the work to do left, because they've already gotten everything done before that. So this is accelerating us into the future. Summarizing, we at Qualcomm like to talk about opening up your third eye, starting to see the world with the opportunity of AR in reasonably achievable ways. Ways that you could see yourself doing with very little cognitive effort and that come naturally to your audience. So with the Snapdragon Spaces XR developer platform, we're building a path for developers to build AR with very little effort, and for consumers to adapt to AR slowly and naturally in a way that we can imagine not just hundreds of developers adapting their apps to AR, but thousands. We're going after the whole market, saying let's all move there together. Our dev kit, it will be the Lenovo ThinkReality A3 Snapdragon-powered augmented reality glasses and a Snapdragon-powered mobile device. Early access applications start today through our Pathfinder program, and we have general availability for our SDK coming in the first half of 2022.